I have a high-grade Gundam Barbatos Lupus iron-blooded coating. I have a Ghost in the Shell standalone complex 2nd gig box set. Fusion! What's up, people? Welcome to Millennial Model Mayhem, and thanks for clicking on my second video. It's your boy Liam, and guess what? I like anime.
But Liam, what about more 40k content?
Oh, come on, Kyle. It's okay to be into things other than grimdark 40k. Anyways, today we're gonna build and customize our boy Barbatos here, and we're gonna use my collection of Ghost in the Shell merchandise to look for inspiration. I've only been into making Gundam model kits, also known as Gunpla, for about a year, so I'm still learning new things with every kit I make. But don't worry, if we mess up, I still have Barbatos' dad. Alright, now before we figure out any customizations that we're gonna do, we've gotta build it, so shall we? Look at that, such a handsome boy. Alright, hope you enjoyed all those clacks. Now, overall this kit is looking pretty great out of the box. I especially like the iron-blooded coating, so I'm definitely going to leave the primary pieces as they are. The only real complaints I have are some of the nub marks on the special coated parts are a little obvious, and also the articulation isn't great. But this is only a high-grade kit, so that's somewhat common. Next, let's take a look at my Ghost in the Shell media collection and figure out a color scheme. After gazing longingly at my merchandise for a while, I came up with this selection of colors that seemed to be consistent throughout most of the packaging, and then I narrowed it down to a few colors I could match to some paints. Now, time for one of the best parts, kit bashing. The backpack came with these weird arms that are supposed to make wings. I found them pretty useless, but perhaps I can find something useful in my spare bits and get creative. After rifling through the pile, I gathered a handful of pieces that I'm going to attempt to make a backpack cannon with, as well as an extra V-fin to attach to the head. And after much chopping, filing, and gluing, I've got a neat addition that uses the backpack arm in a more interesting way and even tucks away when not in use. The head may look a little goofy now, but that should improve once I add some paint. Now that the kit bashing is completed, it's time to plan for airbrushing. I've recently acquired some color-shifting metallic paints from Vallejo, so I'm going to use silver pink for most of the secondary armor plates, but use pearl violet to accent a few central pieces, which I'll label with some tape so they don't get mixed up. Alright Barbatos, time to be disassembled and skewered for airbrushing. Like with most painting, the first step is to throw a layer of primer on, and I'm going with the classic Vallejo Surface Primer Black. I am, however, a bit worried about thick paint causing problems when it's time to reassemble, so I'm thinning these a bit more than I would for use on a miniature. Once everything is primed, I mix up my own dark silver color with a bit of Citadel Air Ironbreaker and black primer for the sword and underframe. This is a pretty subtle change from the base plastic, but paint usually looks better than no paint, and I want it to blend in better with all the other metallics. Next, I airbrush the armor panels using Vallejo Silver Pink and Pearl Violet shifters, also thinning these a bit so the overall coat isn't too thick. I decided to give the kit-bashed cannon silver pink since the arm section will be dark silver. I started painting miniatures before model kits, and the materials I'm using in this video reflects that. So if you're looking for tutorials that are more focused on Gunpla customization, I highly recommend G Academy/Studio G for awesome Gunpla content. Once everything is dry, we can reassemble our boy and behold the exciting new colors. Sorry for the lack of clacks this time. The last stage of our customization is to bring out some of the details. First, I'm painting some Vallejo Game Color gunmetal on the barrel and camera of the cannon. And of course, remember to thin your paints out for brush painting as well so you can get a nice smooth finish. Instead of using the stickers that came with the kit on the fins, I first put down some surface primer, then added silver pink to add a nice accent. Then I also put silver pink on the upper part of the headpiece for a little bit of extra color separation. Next, I went back to the cannon and used some leftover dark silver mix on the rear details to make it look more convincing. Very important. For the sword, I added some silver to parts of the handle and the recessed areas of the blade. Then I added some turquoise to match the eyes, which were the only stickers I used in the entire kit. For this, I grabbed my secret weapon wash Cool Gray. I also used the Cool Gray on the camera part of the cannon to make it look more like a lens. Finally, I wanted to try using rub-on decals for the first time, because it's always good to experiment. Your Gundam, your way. I didn't put any on my Gundam heavy arms because they were too intimidating. So I grabbed a few that I thought looked neat and added them to the sword because it had that nice big surface. Okay, absolute last part now is to panel line. Give everything a gloss coat to protect that precious paint while also giving our panel liner a slippery boy to help fill those recesses. Once it's dry, you can clean up the mistakes with mineral spirits from your local hardware store because the hobby store was all out of enamel thinner. Alright, that's it. Time for some glory shots.
Wait, hang on. I need to show you the rest of my Gundams.
We've got a high-grade Gundam Bile Clear Color, a real-grade Gundam Astray Gold Frame Amatsumina, the high-grade Striker GNX on a janky DIY action base, and my first master grade, this custom Gundam Heavy Arms. And now technically this last one isn't a Gundam.
Much more on that in a later episode.
Okay, now time for some glory shots. This was a very satisfying project for me. I didn't have to paint a good portion of the armor panels, I got to try out some fancy new paints, and I got to do a simple kitbash that added such a unique detail. Now I've got my own exclusive Gundam and Ghost in the Shell crossover figure. I highly encourage anyone who hasn't kitbashed or converted something before to try it out yourself. It feels great.
Wow, you're at the end of my second YouTube video. Thanks. I know it must have been jarring if you watched my first video and you weren't expecting something like Gundam.
But I'm not sorry.
If you liked this video, please like it, subscribe, and...
Nice.